Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to reload 7.62 by 39. Let's get to it. Hey guys, before we get started, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. I'm going to put all the links in the description below. Let's get to it. Alright guys, so I like to start off by tumbling my brass, dry tumbling. I use the Turbo Media treated corncob media, Turbo Tumbler, 5-gallon pail, sifter. If you have any questions regarding how to dry tumble, please check out my other video. The links are in the description. So for this project, we're going to use the RCBS 7.62 by 39 small base taper crimp die set. The shell holder that you'll need is number 32 for RCBS as well. In the kit, you'll have your depriming resizing die, your bullet seeder, and crimp die. In this kit comes a 308 and a 311 resizing ball. Today I'm using the Hornady 11th edition Handbook of Cartridge Reloading, page 636, 7.62 by 39. The type of projectiles that we'll be using are 150 grain full metal jacket, 308. The product number is 3037, so we'll be able to look that up on the second page. The case trim length is 1.518 inches. So we'll need to remember that for our case trim length. So we're going to flip over to page 639. And since we're using 150 grain full metal jacket, product number 3037, we can look it up here. Item number 3037. So our cartridge overall length will be 2.2 inches. And then we go down to the powders. We're going to go to IMR 4198. Our starting is 18.1 grains, and our max is 23.4 grains. So we're going to find a mid-range here. This is for illustration purposes. I'm not giving you any reloading data. I'm not suggesting that you use this data. You need to work up your own loads. I take no liability. So your decapping and resizing die, for setup, you'll just want to make sure that the pin is sticking 3/16 of an inch below the bottom of the die. And you'll take the die, you'll place it into your press. My shell holder is already in the ram. I'm going to run the ram all the way up to the top, screw the die down, until it touches the top of the die. And since this is a steel die, we're going to lower the ram just a little bit and turn this 1/8 to 1/4 turn to get your cam over. And you should be able to hear it. There you go. So we know we have our cam over with this die. It's set appropriately. We're going to lock it into place. Now with our shells, we've already lubed them. So now we should be able to jump right in, taking your shell, placing it into the shell holder, running it up to the top of the stroke. And we have a fully resized and deprimed shell. Now that we're done resizing, depriming the brass, we need to check the trim length. If you remember, it was 1.18 inches. So it looks like the cases need to be trimmed. So to trim these cases, I'm just going to use the Lee hand trimmer. I've got it into the shell holder. Give it a couple of turns. Now if it's trimmed to the correct length, it should be, there we go, 1.518 inches. Now, for the next step, is chamfer. and Debur. Now you're ready to prime the brass, charge it with your powder, and bullet seat. I have the shell holder already in place with our priming tool. I have some large rifle primers already loaded. So all I'm going to do then is go ahead and place the shell into the shell holder. Make sure your hands aren't obstructing this in case there is an accidental detonation, and go ahead and prime. There, now we're ready for powder. I already have the IMR 4198 loaded into the powder thrower. IMR 4198 is not spherical, it's rod shaped, so it's a little bit harder to throw in this powder thrower, so just so you're aware of that. Our range was 18.1 grains to 23.4 grains. So having that data, I'm going to go about middle of the road, and this is just for illustration purposes only. This isn't to suggest any type of load data to you. I should have this already set. Again, since this is a rod-like type powder, it's a little bit harder to throw. If you notice when I threw my lever, I got caught. I also noticed it in Varget as well. So I'm going to take a look here. We're at 20.7, so we're nowhere near the max. So for this illustration purpose only, we're going to go ahead and run with this 20.7, which is about midway in the loading data. Now that we know we're good there, we can go ahead and charge our cases. And I always like to make sure that I can see the powder in the shell to avoid a squib load. Now we're ready for bullet seating and crimping. Now for your bullet seating and crimping die. The die itself stabilizes the bullet pusher. You have your locking ring, and this will apply the crimp if you choose to put any crimp onto your cartridge. Now, in order to set up your bullet seater and crimp die, you place the die into the press. You take your shell that's been primed and charged with powder, place it into the shell holder, run it up to the top of the stroke. Now you're going to turn your die down until you feel it touch the case mouth. Once you feel it touch the case mouth, you're going to dial it back about 1/8 to 1/4 inch turn. You set it, locking ring. Now we're going to bullet seat. Place the projectile in the case mouth. You are going to run it up to the top of the stroke again. Now the bullet seater plug is turned all the way up. Now we're going to turn this down until we meet resistance. And the cartridge overall length is 2.2 inches. So we're going to incrementally turn this down until we bullet seat that projectile into the case 2.2 inches. There we go. Now we have it set to the depth of 2.2 inches. Cartridge overall length of 2.2. Now we're going to lock in our bullet seater plug. Our die is set. Now, if you don't want to apply any crimp and just want to seat your bullets, now you're able to do that. If you'd like to apply a crimp, we'll move on to that next. Now to apply a crimp, what we're going to do is we're going to loosen the bullet seater plug, turn that all the way up. Going to loosen the die. Now, with your die loosened, bullet seater all the way up, we're going to take your fully sized cartridge, place it back into the shell holder, and run it up to the top of the stroke. Now, if you'd like to add a little bit of a crimp, which I typically do with all of my AR or rifle rounds, because I want to avoid any type of ramp feed issues, I like to apply just a little bit of crimp. Now to apply the crimp, the rams all the way up to the top, I'm going to start turning down the die until I meet resistance. I'm going to lower the cartridge just a little bit, turn down the die just a little bit, run it back up. Now you can see I've applied just a small amount of crimp to this cartridge. It's still at 2.2 inches. So if that's where I want it, what I'm going to do is run this back up to the top, make sure the die is locked in place. I'm going to run the bullet seater plug all the way down until I meet resistance. And this will allow me to bullet seat and crimp at the same time. Now I know there's a group of you out there that don't like to bullet seat and crimp at the same time, but for me it's a time thing, and that's what I prefer to do. So now, if I have this set correctly, I should be able to take my next case, place it in the shell holder, place a projectile in the case mouth, run it up to the top. Now I should have a nicely crimped, perfectly sized 7.62 by 39. And that's how you reload 7.62 by 39. Hey guys, I hope you found that video helpful. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. You can also follow me on Rumble at K2Defense. See you next time.